This boy was Fred. He kept speaking kafir, kafir. His mother picked up the plate and said it was plate. But Lisa suddenly found the word kafir under the plate. Fred was only 1 year old, but he had already known how to spell. Lisa was amazed. At school, Fred was the smartest student ever. While his friends were playing in the schoolyard, Fred was able to draw the Maria on the ground. While everyone was practicing playing the piano on the table, Fred was able to play a complete piece of music. That day, the teacher asked everyone to read their essays. Fred read a poem about death. After listening, the teacher and the other students were astonished. Fred loved to read newspapers. He always carried a thick book. He wanted to know the hobbies of other geniuses. Lisa asked what the boy was reading. The boy talked about the book, but Lisa could not understand. She suddenly remembered a doctor, Jenny, because she invited them to join the Genius Research Organization. Lisa loved Fred so much she didn't want him to go. But Fred was so excited that Lisa eventually decided to bring the boy to the organization. After talking, Jenny found Fred a genius in many fields. She wanted to keep Fred at her center, but Lisa disagreed. Fred was bored with his school. He felt all the teachers' lessons were too simple. Furthermore, the students were not allowed to talk to each other. Fred invited his friends to his birthday party, but no one came. Lisa saw her son upset. She called Jenny. She wanted to try sending Fred to the research center for a few days. The geniuses here were all very special. Henry was the most intelligent and extremely arrogant. The other classmates laughed happily, but Fred kept quiet. Jenny led the kids to the Olympic competition. This was a great intellectual contest. MC asked how many minutes there were in 48 years. Henry quickly answered 2522880 minutes. After a few seconds, he got one more correct answer. MC asked how many divisors of 3067. 3067 has no divisor, it is a prime number, replied Henry. Henry kept getting the right answer, but his arrogance discontented everyone. MC asked a difficult question that Henry could not answer immediately. Fred was coming up with a lot of calculations. Then he replied, 24. That was absolutely the correct answer. Fred was startled. Jenny also turned to look at the boy. During the break, Henry threatened Fred and forced him have to be quiet. Jenny stopped them. Henry walked away. Now it was Fred's turn. The boy answered all the questions correctly. Henry extremely angry. After the final, Fred was sent home. Lisa sold Fred's piano, which made him extremely angry. He used a lot of arguments to quarrel with his mother. Lisa was extremely helpless. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was the friend in the final of the competition with him. They talked very happily. At this point, Lisa felt she could not give him the goodness as Jenny. She accepted Henry's offer, agreed to let Fred live with hers. When living at Jenny's house, everything had its own rules. Fred accepted everything. Jenny took Fred to a lecture hall of a university. He was only 7 years old, but he was able to go to college. He was even more receptive than other friends. A lot of people had to copy Frey's answer during the test. When he walked out of the classroom, a ball fell on his head, caused him to faint. Jenny quickly took him to the infirmary. Luckily nothing serious happened. The next day, Tom, who threw the ball in his head, came to see him. They quickly became friends. Fred preferred to make friends with adults rather than people of the same age. Tom drove Fred around the school, then he even took Fred to billiards. Fred thought billiards' trajectory was a perfect mathematical line. Tom promised to teach Fred how to play billiards. So the next day, Fred went to Tom's house. But when the boy opened the door, perhaps Tom was busy. Fred left, but Tom chased following him and said, "When the adult says tomorrow, it's not sure tomorrow. You are just a child, even if we are friends, I cannot be with you forever." He discovered that not only could he not get along with other people of the same age, but also could not interact with adults. A week later, it was the meeting of geniuses. Jenny asked Fred to show his talent. This boy introduced his practical experience. This girl introduced her design plans. Fred deliberately did not answer any questions. Lisa looked at her son. She felt that she had made the wrong decision that led to the result like that. Then Fred read a poem, stepped off the stage and went home. The boy felt the endowment had made him feel lonely. Because he was so talented, the book he read and what he did made his mother and friends unable to understand. He aspired to socialize normally and have fun like his friends. But Jenny didn't care about that. She only wanted to educate him. Others just wanted to ethically talk to it. A person who only loved him, a person who only taught him, no one was perfect. He found out that friends of the same age did not understand him, and he could not understand adults. This was the suffering of geniuses. That night, Lisa took Fred home. They hugged each other. Now, Fred didn't want to be a genius anymore. He tried to mingle with his friends of the same age. He had the love of his mother, the education of a PhD and the joy of his friends. This was the life he wanted.